Hey Ross, nice to meet you. Thanks for jumping on with me. How you doing?
Hi, Roy. Really well. Absolute pleasure to meet you and pleasure to do this interview. And I'm really looking forward to the event on the 9th.
Yeah, great stuff. We're really excited as well, as we've just been discussing. It's the inaugural TransCityRail Scotland. We've been running these supply chain engagement events across the country for 11 years now, and Edinburgh just seemed like the perfect place to launch TransCityRail Scotland, and we've had great take up so far. So yeah, we're just excited as you. Thanks very much for your participation, yours and your teams. It's good that we're going to have your exec team there in the day and at the night, meeting with suppliers, collaborating, discussing, and breaking down those supply chain barriers. Um, Wanted to start really by giving a bit of an insight into those who are attending and many more that are going to book between now and the next few weeks.
Mm.
You know, what are you going to be talking about? What are you going to be addressing, and what are those key takeaways going to be for those who are going to hear your speech?
Good question. Um, uh, two themes, Roy. Two themes for me is number one is performance, train performance, and number two is about innovation. Now, if I can frame what I mean by those two things, the rail industry is at a real juncture point at the moment. Post-COVID, patronage is still about 16% below where it was in the preceding years between COVID. We've got all of these challenges previously that we didn't have: work from home, hybrid working, that big existential question about the utility of the rail industry.
Yeah.
And with all of these pressing challenges, in my opinion, the number one way that we're going to bring people back to the rail network is through high performance. And high performance for us means achieving our regulatory targets. Now,
Mhm.
our target is 92.5%. In old money, what used to be PPM, in new money is a metric called STPM, Scottish Train Performance Measurement. So, in essence, 92.5% of all trains in Scotland must arrive at their destination within 5 minutes of their published time. So that is the target for us. That is what we have to hit, and that for us is what looks like success. Now, the question, of course, is how do the supply chain assist us in hitting that target, which, by the way, we have never in any meaningful way achieved that target before. And Transport Scotland and the Scottish Government are obviously insistent that's what they see as success. That's what they want to happen. And so, therefore, my challenge to the supply chain is assist us, help us. How are we going to do this? And the way that we're going to do it is through innovation.
And innovation in any particular field? Are we talking from track to electrification? What does that innovation look like, and how can it be most affected?
Well,
Effective?
see, if we look at so whole systems are a phrase that we use all the time now, Roy, isn't it? We talk about track and train coming together. We talk about all components in the system operating as efficiently as possible. Now, what are the challenges to that whole system, and why isn't it operating in as high a way as it can? So we know about weather, right? We know about the challenges that extreme weather brings in terms of storm management, in terms of the vegetation challenge that we've got. I mean, who would have thought 15 years ago that one of the really hot topics that we would talk about all the time is how we maintain lineside vegetation? We've got
Mhm.
the challenges that seasonality brings, particularly in respect to autumn. And we've got the challenges that summer bring in terms of high temperatures, critical rail temperatures. So that's the first part, the weather. So how can the supply chain assist us in respect of resilience when it comes to improving how we operate trains during extreme weather? And that can be anything. I think you signposted it there, Roy. Take overhead lines. How can we make our OLE much more robust in the face of extreme weather, high winds,
Mhm.
impact from lineside obstacles? When it comes to autumn, what products are out there to improve the friction of the rails, so that we don't
Yeah.
end up with trains slipping all over the place. And
Yeah.
then when it comes to summer, How can we avoid the issues that we get in terms of extreme heat impacting the track and impacting the signalling equipment? Then we come on to the more kind of, I don't know what you would phrase it as, maybe the more intellectual side of the business, timetable analysis. So
Yeah.
what tools are out there in respect of understanding how are we losing minutes every day that we can't explain? Is the timetable robust enough? Do we have technology that's able to stress test the ability of the timetable to work during perturbation? What traffic management tools are out there? The list just goes on and on. And I think the supply chain, can really be a critical part in how we solve all these problems, Roy.
Yeah, so it's about having a really frank and rounded conversation with a whole hodgepodge of different suppliers, then, isn't it? Because you talked a lot about knowns there, but there's a lot of unknown unknowns, isn't there? You talked about timetable slippage. What's
Yep.
causing that? Sometimes we know what's causing that, but sometimes we don't know, or we need to bring third-party expertise in to help us take a bird's eye view and figure the new challenges out, the challenges of tomorrow that we've not even come across yet. And I'm having that conversation with a lot more people more and more now, especially as we seem to be moving towards a real shift towards bringing technology and layering technology into the rail industry. It's not just about track and train anymore, isn't it? It's about that whole piece of, AI, quantum engineering, and looking at how we dovetail that into a traditional railway, but to identify the opportunities and the challenges of tomorrow.
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, remember people used to use that phrase all the time that in the railway you were kind of custodians of the infrastructure that you inherited from previous generations. And it's not by accident that I always have this picture behind me.
Yeah.
And so we've inherited some magnificent Victorian engineering, and of course it's our part to make sure that we maintain it and ensure that it's as safe as possible. But if you think about that kind of baton passing between each generation, the legacy that we're going to pass on, I think, is all about technology.
Yeah.
Everyone is talking about AI. Everyone is talking about, the ability for machines to learn and make better and improve on how we operate the business. But
Yeah.
where is it? That's the challenge is, show us the technology and demonstrate how it can improve how we operate the network.
Yeah, 100%. We've got a key customer, company called Netcall, and they're doing a lot of work with Network Rail in England, and a lot of work with Great British Railways and GPRX around the whole AI piece, and making these legacy systems talk together, without having to just completely remove a system,
Mm,
shelve it, and bring something new in. And that becomes really important because you've got all of that history, all of that evidence that you don't want
mm,
to discard, and then you can ingest that into new systems. They're doing stuff, conceptual stuff right now, but building an app in a day, building an app in an hour,
mm,
that can solve certain challenges for a client in the moment,
mm,
rather than a client having to go away and say, right, well, here's the brief, here's the competitive tender, here's the process, and at the end of it, we'll choose a supplier. What Netcall have done is they put themselves in a position through partnership, through collaboration, and having frank, open conversations where they work with you as a partner, they understand the problem of that day, and by the end of the day, they hope to have a solution for you. And I think that's key moving forward with all suppliers, to be really
mm.
agile in your approach and not for it to be just a transactional PQQ ITT contract win.
Oh, definitely, and that's something, Roy, that I'm particularly interested in terms of interoperability between systems that we've got in the railway. So
Yeah,
we've got quite a varied tapestry of different remote condition monitoring technology. So we've got stuff that monitors S&C, we've got stuff that monitors track, we've got tilt meters, we've got OLE monitoring equipment. But
yeah,
what we really need is something overarching, that can harvest all of the data. And critically, a lot of the technologies that we have seen, it tends to require somebody with an engineering background to then go in and interrogate the data. And from some angles, that can drive up your costs because you need more
yeah,
competent heads to do it. And what my challenge is, well, where's the technology that, an algorithm that can oversee everything and
yeah,
then propose interventions before we get a catastrophic failure.
How much of a part are GBRX playing with Scotland's Network Rail?
A lot. I mean, you'll know that Tufik is obviously heading up
Yeah.
GBRX, who's an extremely intelligent and competent individual. There's a lot of engagement. There's a lot of discussions. I guess the one thing is that there are different challenges for each region in the UK. And Scotland can sometimes have very unique and kind of idiosyncratic challenges that I got it out, that other routes and regions don't have, and that's something maybe bends us back to the extreme weather that we get in Scotland. So, we're wetter, we're windier, we're colder, we're snowier. And those sort of things demand a unique approach that sometimes, from a GB perspective, one that might not get.
Yeah, makes sense. And we've got Kira and David Harkin, Kieran McCluskey and David Harkin. They're coming up to TCR, and they're talking about the weather and the climate resilience piece, and they're doing that as a pair. I was going to say double act, but as a double act on stage, which I think from speaking with them is going to be a really interesting conversation. So there's loads to unpack there, and there's loads of reasons why people should come to the event and listen to you and listen to lots of other speakers. Obviously, there's a big chunk of investment for the next 4 years of the control period, 4.8 billion, and of course a lot of that, or some of that, a portion of that, is going to be channeled into solving and tackling some of the many challenges that you've just described. What do you think is the single biggest opportunity that you've got over the next 4 years with the funding that you have?
Well, I mean, I don't want to sound like a broken record and keep talking about performance, because, safety is obviously an important component as well. I think one of the biggest opportunities that we've got is to try and maximize engineering time. So, since year dot, the traditional methods of us conducting engineering work is to send a merry band out there with detonators and possession limit boards. That takes up an enormous amount of time. And that's before you factor in the complications of taking an electrical isolation as well. So I think there's a real opportunity to try and, now there are technologies out there, and some of them we have actually embedded within Scotland, but something or someone that can offer us a solution that gives you a swift isolation in conjunction with the possession is really the kind of Rosetta Stone at the moment. So I think getting maximum time on tools, now whether it's to conduct capital delivery works or whether it's to do your regular maintenance, more time on tools and more time to build stuff means less disruption for the passenger, and means that we can exponentially increase the amount of volumes that we're delivering year on year.
Yeah. So finally then, because like every industry in the UK, we're looking to get more young people, or just more people in it working on it, full stop. There's lots of vacancies. We want those graduates. We want those apprentices. How did you get into the industry, and what keeps you here, Ross?
I suppose I had a bit of a traditional route in some senses. I came through the Network Rail graduate scheme, but prior to that, I'm a sort of humanities student at heart, so I did an English degree. Never in a million years did I think I would join the railway, but did the usual thing, graduated, and thought, what am I going to do now? Applied to the graduate scheme and luckily got accepted. And since that point, I have been utterly evangelical about the railway industry, just because of the scope of opportunities that it presents, because it's so varied, it's so challenging, it's so demanding. It's a wonderful career to be involved in.